for problem 1D, I would start by plugging this into my calculator. And what's interesting is we get sort of a sideways hyperbola, and it looks like this goes back and forth quite a bit as t goes between 0 and 2 pi. It looks like it, goes up, down, up, down. So let's see what's going on here. So let's try to eliminate the parameter. And what I'm going to do is, let's see, we need to come up with something, some relationship between sine and cosine. Well, one thing I remember about cosine is that we have this double angle formula. So cosine of 2t is cosine squared of t minus sine squared of t. And that's the one I basically remember. I would like to write this entirely in terms of sine. So the other formula is 1 minus 2 sine squared t is cosine of 2t. So now I can just plug in what I have. X is cosine 2t, and sine is y. So this gives me x is 1 minus 2y squared, which, in fact, is a sideways parabola. And if I look at what's going on with this, I know that when t is equal to 0, so if I look at my x value, when t is equal to 0, cosine of 0 is, in fact, 1. And when t is equal to, well, let's let it increase to, say, pi. But this is going to give me cosine of 2 pi. Well, that's 1 again. So I'm going to let t be equal to pi over 2. Cosine of pi over 2, well, pi over 2 times 2 is pi, and cosine of pi is negative 1. And then by the time we get to, let's say, pi, that's cosine of 2 pi is 1. And so it looks like, in fact, if I was going to graph cosine of 2t, the only thing that would be different is cosine of 2t is bouncing around between 1 and negative 1, whereas sine of t also bounces around, but if we're just going to go between 0 and 2 pi, sine, so my y value goes from 0 up to 1, down to 0, down to negative 1. So if I look at this, so we have something that looks like this. Okay, I know the y value is going to start at 0, so this is my starting point, and then my y value increases to 1, so it goes in this direction, but then my y value is going to decrease to 0 again, and then dip down, so my y value is negative 1, but then it's going to back trace. So that's my graph.